Well, they are extraordinary times, and members are doing everything they can to keep people working, to keep people safe. The banks are doing an incredible job, extending loan payments, extending loan terms, keeping their branches open, being more flexible on credit. People giving leave, Telstra creating its own category of pandemic leave, giving people, including casuals, leave. Wesfarmers giving people leave, particularly casuals. Everyone is pulling their weight, and that's really great to see. But, there is a lot of uncertainty there. There's a lot of anxiety about the longer this goes on, the deeper the impact. And what we have to do is basically do two things. We've got to get through the next 3 to 6 months, and that's about keeping people in work. It's about keeping people safe. It's about containing this thing. It's about keeping money flowing into people's pockets. And then we've got to think about the work to bounce back from this as a stronger economy. And a lot of that's going to be getting investment happening in the big companies who are going to pull through those big supply chains, who are vital to kind of creating the economic activity that smaller businesses need. But, there is no doubt, Laura, we are in an extraordinary situation. But I want to always remind people, we are in a stronger position than many other countries. We had a growing economy, we have strong banks, we've got strong financial regulators, we've got a good health system. And it's very important that people remember from our base we have a better capacity to bounce back.
Yes, certainly the GFC was only 10 years ago, and that is fresh, I'm sure, in a lot of these businesses' minds. Yesterday we saw a huge step from the RBA and the government banding together to make sure there's about $100 billion worth of stimulus in the economy, and that will not be the end. Is the government, is the RBA moving quickly enough, and is that enough?
Look, I think that yesterday and the stimulus announced last week is hugely important. So you're basically putting $100 billion of money into the economy, particularly targeted to small and medium businesses who are really going to do it tough in this phase. Yeah. There's no doubt more's going to have to be done. Now, I divide that into two categories. Cash flow. So I don't think there's any doubt that small businesses are going to need more cash just to keep people working. I think we're going to have to do something about sole traders. I think we're going to have to do something about, things like, at the moment, people I think would be surprised about these companies pay tax on a monthly basis. Maybe we should move that to quarterly to smooth out those tax flow those cash flow issues. Yeah. I think we're going to have to do more for low-income people. We're going to have to cut some slack to people on New Start. People who are really doing it tough. Let's not ask them to turn up every week, showing what job they've been for, turning up in a Centrelink office or a job assist office, maybe give them 14 weeks. And then, Laura, it's really important that we also think about the other side of this, which is make it easier to do business. I wrote to every mayor the other day, and it's interesting, a lot of people, lots of local governments have now lifted these curfews on being able to deliver to our supermarkets. If we want small business to really get going, don't ask them to do a 6-month planning approval if they're going to, refit their shop. Don't ask people to keep time and attendance records when a lot of people are working from home. Make it easier for people to get their employers to take leave. Yeah. That's what happened in the GFC. People took leave, they worked part-time, make that easier to do. That will enable us to bounce back stronger. We've got to give companies the flexibility to bounce back. Well,
Josh Frydenberg spoke to us just about an hour ago and said that we will see an announcement from the banks today when it comes to, underwriting small business loans and really helping out small to medium businesses. Do you have any idea what that announcement will be? If you don't, what should it be?
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think we would also like to see the depreciation announcement that was made last week extended to larger companies beyond $500 million, because those companies have bigger balance sheets, they've got better risk appetite, and they will make some of those investments that are going to really push through to the economy, like bring forward their maintenance, bring forward their fleet replacement for a car industry, in terms of car sales that's really struggling when I talk to people on the ground. So I don't know the details of the package, but I think what is really important is that the government is very focused on keeping businesses going, keeping their capacity to employ people, keeping their capacity to bounce back after this crisis.
Now, we're all looking ahead to how long this crisis may last, and simply we just don't know. There's been this idea floated of the need to nationalise some businesses in Australia. Virgin, perhaps some of these critical businesses, to ensure competition on the other side of this chasm. Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, the first thing we do know, though, is that this will come to an end, and that's different to the GFC, where I think everyone was in, complete, where will this all end up? We do know from countries that, say in China, that we've seen, manufacturing start again. So we do know that there will be an end point. We're not quite sure how it will play out. In terms of nationalisation, I agree with Peter. The job is to keep companies going, to keep them with the ability to employ people, to keep them with the ability to come back. And, the problem with nationalisation is the point Alan Joyce is making about picking winners. I mean, what we've got to come out of this crisis is a modern market economy, not an economy that looks like something out of the 1950s. That is not a way to bounce back from this.
Jennifer Westacott, if I could end on perhaps a positive in all of this. There's not a lot of silver lining at the moment, but out of this, could we learn to give employees a little bit more flexibility? I mean, if it works for people working from home different hours, could we see a whole new workforce and a different way to structure business on the other side?
I think it's a really important question you're raising here. I think there's two aspects to this. How do we actually create permanent flexibility in our labour market? And how do we create permanent change to our over-regulated economy? I'm hoping that at the end of this, we look at some of these things like, the incredible restrictions on retail trading hours, which should just at the moment be lifted totally across the country. South Australia's done these curfews that, Queensland, New South Wales today, the Premier I know has made a comment about that. It would be great to see that we create a more flexible, more agile economy in respect of workforce and in respect of the heavy hand of regulation that has stifled so many small, medium and large companies from getting on and creating the prosperity that this country needs at the other side of this.
And how are you sleeping at the moment, Jennifer?
Well, I'm not a great sleeper at the best of times, but I can say it's even worse at the moment. But yes, sleep has not been one of my natural habits.
Okay, I think you and many others around the country at the moment. We thank you for your time. We'll speak soon.
You're very welcome. Thank you.